This is the real world, where light, shadow, and perspective make the difference. This is the 3D world of Sketch. Whether you're a graphic artist, an illustrator, or a designer, you need tools that set you free to express your ideas and explore alternatives. Chances are you use a personal computer and a program that's perfect for many of the things you do. But you've had to compromise to fit our 3D world into a 2D space. And it still takes a lot of time to just fake it. Break through to 3D with Sketch. Don Crabb of Byte magazine says, Sketch extends your innate 2D drawing prowess into the third dimension. With Sketch, you use any surface as drawing paper. Rough out your ideas. Change your mind. Refine. You have the freedom to adjust lines and curves as you create. Now watch this. With Sketch, there's a unique, powerful difference. Suddenly you're working in 3 dimensions. And for the first time, you have complete control of 3D shapes using 2D techniques. Position and evaluate. Set up the view that most effectively communicates your concept. Sketch captures those fleeting moments of inspiration. Understand where you've been by cataloging your ideas for instant online review. Only in the 3D world of Sketch can you play like this, with complex perspectives. Focus attention exactly where you want it. Sketch works in partnership with the tools you already use, like Illustrator or Photoshop. Import 2D artwork into Sketch to add depth and character. Add realism automatically with an accurate 3D rendering. Experiment like never before with Sketch and your favorite paint or image processing tools. Create and apply textures and labels. Accomplish things you could not have even attempted in the 2D world. Evaluate and present your 2D art in its true 3D context. Now you have the power to explore, create, and communicate like never before. Illustrating with Sketch is fast, flexible, and accurate. Create an original look. Specify color, transparency, and finish. Apply it directly to your idea, or catalog it for future use. Imagine the possibilities. But what would it look like in the real world? Match perspective, and any 2D photo is the basis for a photorealistic Sketch illustration. Compose interactively. Now you're working in the real world. Sketch heightens drama. Place any number of lights to cast accurate, natural shadows automatically, even on the surfaces in a 2D image. Eugene Mosier of Desktop Communications says Sketch feels like working with a 3D version of Adobe Illustrator. How Magazine's Michael Sullivan says, Alias Sketch is the next generation. Once you use Sketch, you won't go back. Graphic artists, illustrators, and designers everywhere agree. Sketch is a breakthrough for creativity.
The ability to sketch and to work in real 3D space in a very interactive and intuitive fashion is really a breakthrough.
It's a creative tool, and it just allows me to be very free with my ideas. I don't have to really think too much about how to do what I'm doing. I just do it.
You work in a way that's very natural. You always can understand what you're doing and where. It's not only intuitive, but obvious what's happening.
I'm used to Beziers. I'm used to programs like Illustrator and Freehand. I work with those a lot. Pulling on the points look to me to be very familiar.
Scan in your artwork and then match that 3D perspective and then start drawing and creating an object right in the context of the artwork. There's no doubt about it. Is this going to work or not? That's really exciting.
This is the real world, where light, shadow, and perspective make the difference. This is the 3D world of Sketch. For more information about Alias Sketch, or to locate the dealer nearest you, call the Style Division of Alias at 1-800-447-2542. Sketch is created by Alias, the world leader in computer graphics.
Welcome to the Sketch tutorial video, a no-hype real-time exercise designed to be used with Sketch. Now before we start, here are a few suggestions. It's best to be able to see your TV from your computer. Also, the tutorial moves along at a good pace, so you may want to pause occasionally to catch up or practice a particular technique. We've designed this tutorial to take you from your first steps in Sketch through to creating and rendering a 3D illustration. You should already be familiar with your Macintosh and using a mouse. Make sure you've installed Sketch on your hard drive and initialized the application, and that you've copied the files onto the tutorial diskette into your Sketch folder. The tutorial will take about 60 minutes to complete, and along the way there are places where you can take a break and stretch your legs. Before we move into the next section, open the Sketch application. This is the Design Studio, where ideas, pictures, and prototypes will be developed in the 3D world of Sketch. The main window is the work area, where designs will be created and illustrations composed. To the left is the toolbox. It contains a few simple tools that we'll use to build and manipulate curves and shapes, and to navigate our way around our 3D scene. Along the top is the menu bar, where we store, edit, view, and arrange Sketch designs. The status bar at the bottom of the work area gives important feedback on commands, scaling, dimensions, and angles for our 3D modeling. Sometimes, when you're first using a new program, it's hard to remember what all the menus and icons do. Sketch offers balloon help on every menu item and toolbox icon, providing instant help and references to the Sketch manual. If you are presently at your computer, now would be a great time to pause the video and use Balloon Help to further explore your design studio. Turn off Balloon Help when you're comfortable with the menus and the toolbox. From time to time during the tutorial, visual cues like these will appear in the lower left of your screen. These are designed to help you master the modifier keys used in Sketch. Let's begin by taking a quick look at a few of the basic tools we'll be using. Select the pencil tool, which is used to draw free-form curves. Press down and drag the mouse. If you change your mind, press the Option key any time during your sketching to flip the pencil into a 3D eraser. Let go of the Option key to continue drawing. Now, let go of the mouse to complete your curve. Next, choose the Putty tool and click-drag on any part of the curved line. By making any point a control point, you can easily modify your free-form lines. Now, let's turn our 2D curve into a 3D surface. Choose the Extrude tool and click and hold on the curved line. When selected, the line will turn red. To extrude perpendicular to the ground plane, press the Shift key and drag up. Notice how the Shift key constrains our actions to perpendicular to the ground plane. The Extrude command is therefore a 3D equivalent of the 2D freehand pencil tool. Let's look at this curved wall from a different angle. Choose the Navigate tool. A bounding box surrounds the wall. Click-drag on the front top corner of the navigation box and rotate it around. We've just moved ourselves around in relation to the entire scene, while the wall and the ground plane have stayed in place. Try this again by click-dragging one of the edges of the bounding box. This time we are rotating in just 2 axes. Again, the objects haven't moved, though our viewpoint has. Next, click anywhere in the green grid to apply the Navigate tool to it. Now, click-drag down on the top edge of the grid. We've lowered our eye point in relation to the scene. Next, choose the Move tool, then click-drag on the extruded wall to move it around in the work area. Notice how the wall appears to shrink and grow as it moves. Release the mouse button when the wall is located on the far edge of the green grid. Select Home from the View menu. Just like 2D drawing packages like Adobe Illustrator give us control over the curved line, Sketch gives us control over the curved 3-dimensional surface. Now let's putty the surface to form a new shape. Select the Putty tool, then click-drag on any part of the curve's baseline. Notice how your changes flowed through the whole shape of the entire wall. Sketch remembers the construction history of the original curve and the resulting surface. Click-drag on a point about halfway up the wall to put a dent in the surface. Notice how your drag point is referenced to the working plane with a blue dimension line and a blue dot that moves along the live surface. Let's do that again. Now choose the Cube tool and click-drag in front of the wall. When the cube size is around 4 units, release the mouse to complete the cube. Press Command and Option and click on the top of the cube near an edge to make the top surface of the cube live. You have to click quite accurately to get the top surface. If you pick the wrong side, simply Command Option click on the ground plane and try again. Now you should have a green cube with a green grid on its top surface. This is now the surface on which you will be building, and in reference to which you will be moving other objects. The green grid is called the context. Now click-drag on the top of the cube, building another cube directly on top of the first one. Notice how this closely matches the way you work in real life, by building objects in reference to other objects. Next, choose the Move tool and click-drag on the top cube. Another blue line appears referencing us to our new context as we move around our workspace. This way, we know what we're moving and in relation to what it's being moved. Pressing the Shift key will move the top cube perpendicular to the context. All surfaces and objects, whether flat or curved, can act as a context for building and modifying, and can be made live. This is what we mean by working in the real world. Let's now prepare to get down to business and clean up a bit. Choose Select All from the Edit menu. Now choose Clear from the same menu. This concludes the warm-up section. Now let's review some of the tools and commands we've used during the warm-up. Sketch's Balloon Help feature provides instant online help in reference to the sketchbook. The Pencil tool draws free hand curves. The Putty tool manipulates 2D curves and 3D shapes. The Navigate tool orients our view in relation to all objects in a scene. The Extrude tool turns 2D curves and lines into 3D surfaces. And the Move tool, which moves objects in relation to any context. Now let's take a closer look at Sketch in action using our new tools in a real design exercise. This illustration for the fictitious Alias Cup will help us explore the various tools Sketch offers for design, graphics, and illustration. Our first exercise in creating this image will be to build the ship inside the bottle. Just as in real life, Sketch bases all building and modifying on relating yourself to other objects in your 3D world. Before we begin building, we'll start with several sketching planes. Select the plane tool and use your grid as a reference to click-drag to place your first point. Press the Shift key while dragging to draw the plane perpendicular to the ground. Align the plane to the grid lines as shown, then let go to place the second point. These planes give us new construction surfaces on which you can sketch. They are also used to orient and move shapes and curves in 3 dimensions. You can easily build multiple sketching planes as needed. Make a second plane along the center of the first to be used as the central axis of the boat. Again, holding down the Shift key to draw the plane perpendicular to the live ground plane. Now we will change our drawing context from the ground to our first sketching plane. Press Command and Option and click on the light blue line of the first plane to make this plane live and activate it as our drawing surface. Select Head-On from the View menu to work with the sketching plane more as if it were a 2D piece of graph paper. Now choose Show Gravity Settings from the Arrange menu. This is where you can set priorities for snapping when we're drawing and moving objects. You can snap to points, curves, or surfaces with various levels of strength. I'll use the points of the grid as my first preference for snapping and set the attraction to strong. Close the Gravity Settings dialog box. Select Gravity from the Arrange menu to turn it on. To draw the hull's profile, we'll select Sketch's Curve-O-Matic tool. This tool works much like the Pen tool in Illustrator or the Curve tool in Freehand and gives us a more sophisticated level of control over our line work, much like Bezier curves in these programs. We click to place our first point, using gravity to snap us to the grid, then click-drag our second point to start the curve. By dragging around the work area, the curve line begins to take shape. Center the curve and release the mouse button to form the bottom of the hull. Click-drag above and to the right to make the side wall, creating a curve like this. Now, hold down the Option key and click-drag to create an arc for the deck of the boat, making sure it continues smoothly from the side wall. The Option key enables us to accurately draw more controlled circular arcs instead of just curves. Continue using the Curve-O-Matic tool and gravity to help you form the other side of the hull. Click on the first point to close your curved line. Drag the final wall into shape and then double-click anywhere to complete the hull's outline. Now select Gravity from the Arrange menu to turn it off. Let's see how we've done. Go to the View menu and choose Home View. Looks good. Now let's extrude our 2D shape into the third dimension. Select the Extrude tool, then click and hold on the hull's profile. It should be red before you start to extrude, indicating that it's active. Now hold down the Shift key to work perpendicular to our live plane. If you press the Shift key before selecting the curve, then you will deselect the line and it must be reselected. Extrude out to about 12.5 units. Look at the status bar across the bottom to assist you, and release the mouse button when you're happy with the extrusion distance. To understand how Sketch created this shape, let's select Show Assembly from the Arrange menu. The assembly view normally appears in the lower left, but we'll move it up here so it doesn't interfere with our on-screen graphics. The assembly view helps us understand and organize sketch objects in our 3D space. Extruded objects are initially called assemblies and contain the basic surface elements created in the actual extrusion. The boat's hull is made up of an end cap, start cap, and extrude 1. If there's not enough room in the assembly view window to display the entire name, Sketch will abbreviate the names. To assist you in organizing your ideas, assemblies can be given a name more appropriate to their form and shape. Make sure the assembly is selected and choose Get Info from the Edit menu. Now you can change the name as well as specify dimensional and material information. Name the assembly Boat Hull and press OK. Double-clicking on the assembly name will collapse it to just its name, so we can simplify our assembly view in much the same way you can in the Finder in System 7. During our sketching, we'll often use the assembly view to help us locate and select parts of our designs and illustrations. Let's quickly explore Sketch's two main viewing tools that will be frequently used when working in 3D. Choose the Navigate tool. As we saw earlier, this tool allows us to rotate and move our viewing position without changing the position of the objects themselves. Click-drag on the front edge of the hull's bounding box to rotate it. Now, click-drag on the face of the box to make a translation of your viewpoint in 3 dimensions. It may look like you're moving the box, but in fact you're moving your viewpoint in relation to the whole scene. Now choose the Zipper tool. Click-drag within the frame to pan our view around the screen. This tool makes it simple to pan our interest point or to zoom in for detailed work. Press the Shift key, then click-drag within the zipper frame, close to the black border, to zoom in and out. As the frame gets bigger, you are zooming in on the center of the frame, and the objects within the frame are getting bigger. Now click-drag at a corner to rotate your view. Let's return to our home view and save our drawing before we continue. Choose Save As from the File menu. We'll save our sketch geometry as either style guide files for use in Sketch itself, 3D DXF files for use in animation or CAD packages, or 2D EPSF files for use in desktop publishing programs. Let's save our file in Sketch as native file format style guide and call it Alias Cup 1. It's good to save drawings frequently to ensure that you have backups of the key steps in your drawing process, in case you change your mind about something, or in case somebody pulls the plug on your Mac. I know, it never happens to you. Now let's review. We use sketching planes, which can be drawn anywhere, made live, and used as a context. Gravity, a way of snapping to points, curves, or surfaces. The Curvomatic tool, which draws accurate 2D curves and arcs. The assembly view, a chronological list of the objects in our scene. And the Zipper tool, which zooms, pans, and rotates our viewpoint in relation to the scene or to any object. Now let's get back to our design exercise. First, let's close our assembly view. We'll explore the various uses of the Handle tool. Select the Handle tool. At first, this tool appears to be the same as the Navigate tool, although a quick rotate will show that in this case, the object itself has moved, not our view. Selecting a surface will move the object around your workspace. Notice how the grid remains stationary, demonstrating a static viewpoint. Now hold down the Command key, then click-drag on the top right corner of the bounding box. The Handle tool in combination with the Command key and used on a corner will scale shapes in 3 dimensions. With the Command key still pressed, click-drag on the top right edge. While a corner scales the box in 3 dimensions, an edge scales the box in 2. Still holding down the Command key, click-drag on the front face of the bounding box to scale the hull's length. Notice how up to now all our scaling and rotating has been about the center of our bounding box. Let's now use the Command key together with the Shift key and again click-drag on the front face of the box. The Command and Shift key combination allows us to scale with the far end of the bounding box fixed in space. As well as modifying whole objects, the Handle tool can also be used on a single cross-section of a shape. Press down the Option key and select any desired cross-section rib around the middle. Notice how the bounding box surrounds this one cross-section. Now use the Command key and click-drag on one of the corners of the bounding box to scale down. Again, notice how Sketch flows your changes along the entire hull. Well, this certainly isn't what we want, so let's revert back to our saved file. Choose Revert to Saved in the File menu and press OK. Now, let's start to build the hull properly using what we know about the Handle tool. Press Command and Option and click on the first sketching plane to make it live. Reselect the Handle tool and click anywhere on the hull. Next, press the Command and Shift keys and click-drag on the front face of the bounding box. Pull forward to scale the hull to a width of about 14 units. Use the status bar to ensure that our dimension is what we need. Press the Option key and click on the hull's front cross-section to isolate just the front rib. Now press the Command and Shift keys and click-drag the bottom edge of the bounding box, moving it up towards the deck. Let's take a closer look at what we've done. Choose Fit to View from the View menu. Now just use the Command key and click-drag on the lower right-hand corner to scale down. Watch the status bar to ensure that the length and the height of our cross-section remain positive before releasing, and try to get it as close to 0 as possible. Notice how we have manipulated the curved form of the hull in all 3 dimensions by selecting the corner of the bounding box. Choose Home from the View menu. Press the Option key and click the stern of the boat to isolate the rearmost rib. Press the Command and Shift keys and click-drag up, scaling the stern to about 80%. Release both keys and the mouse button. Now press the Command key and click-drag on the left side, scaling it to about 85%. As well as scaling, we can use the Handle tool to rotate objects in cross-sections. Let's rotate this profile a touch outwards to shape the transom. Press the Shift key and click-drag on the bottom edge outwards until the status bar reads about 30 degrees. Notice how using the Shift key ensures that the opposite edge is the pivot for the rotation. Let's now look at our completed hull from a different perspective. Select Front from the View menu. Now return to the Home view. Before we continue, let's change the smoothness of our hull so that we'll have fewer construction lines cluttering our model, while at the same time speeding up redraws. Choose Smoothness from the Appearance menu and select Rougher. Press Command and Option and click on the hull to make it live. It is possible in Sketch to make any object a drawing surface, just as we did earlier with our sketching planes. Choose the Circle tool and click-drag on the central spine of the hull. Press the Option key to create the circle from its center, and form a circle with a diameter of about 0.2 units. There will be a slight pause while Sketch calculates how to fit the circle precisely to the curve of the deck. Let's zoom out to give us more room for adding the mast. Select the zipper tool. Press the Shift key and click-drag in the frame to scale our view. Zoom out to about 80%. Now, click-drag the zipper frame down in order to raise our eye point. Press the Command and Option keys and click on the central sketching plane to make it live. This new sketching plane gives us a good reference for our curved extrusion of the mast. Select the Extrude-O-Matic tool. Single-click on the circle, then click above the deck where you want the top of the mast to be, then drag to form a curve, just as you did with the Curve-O-Matic tool. In this way, we define the path along which the extrusion is to take place. The Extrude-O-Matic is essentially a 3D version of the Curve-O-Matic. If this position doesn't seem quite right, press the Command key and click-drag the end point of the extrusion. Release and double-click to finish the mast. Choose Duplicate from the View menu to save this viewpoint for later use. If you like a particular view, you can always save it. Now go to the Home view, then choose the Zipper tool. Click on the hull, then press the Shift key and click-drag to zoom in about 180%, watching the status bar as you go. Now, pan slightly over to the left by click-dragging the frame to the right. Choose the Circle tool and click-drag to form another circle, while pressing the Shift key to indicate that you want to draw perpendicular to the live plane. Release the mouse button at a diameter of about 0.2 units. Choose the Extrude-O-Matic tool and click on the circle, then click again out past the boat's stern. Double-click anywhere to finish the boom. Select our saved View 1 in the View menu. Choose the Curve-O-Matic tool and click just above the top surface of the boom, near the mast, to create one corner of the sail. Next, click at the other end of the boom and drag to put a small curve in the base of the sail. Choose the Extrude-O-Matic tool and click on the curved line near the mast. Now click near the top of the mast vertically above your last click point to indicate where the top of the mainsail is to be. To complete the operation, quickly double-click anywhere. Let's repeat this for the jib. Choose the Curve-O-Matic tool and click in front of the mast to create one corner of the jib. Next, click near the front of the boat. Choose the Extrude-O-Matic tool and click on the curved line near the mast. Now click near the top of the mast, vertically above your last click point, to indicate where the top of the mainsail is to be. Again, to complete the operation, double-click anywhere. Now we have to refine the shape of our sails. We'll be using the Handle tool for this. Press on the Option key and click on the top rib of the jib. Hold down the Command and Shift keys and click-drag on the bottom right corner to scale the rib to almost nothing, creating the triangular shape of the sail. Now click on the mainsail. Choose the Navigate tool and click-drag within the bounding box. Drag down until we see the top of the sail. Now select the Handle tool. Hold down the Option key and click on the top of the mainsail to select the topmost rib. Press the Command and Shift keys and click-drag on the top corner to squash the top to almost nothing. Now select Last from the View menu to go back to our previous view. These surfaces are good 2D representations of sails, but let's put some wind into them. Choose the Putty tool and click and hold at the center of the mainsail. Press the Shift key to indicate that we want to move perpendicular to our live surface and push out. Now we've added a curve to the shape of our sail. Now repeat this on the jib. Click and hold at the center of the jib, and again press the Shift key, indicating that we want to move perpendicular to our live surface. Then push out. Let's return to our home view. Next, click on the boat's hull and choose Medium from the Smoothness settings on the Appearance menu. Press the Command and Option keys and click on the hull to make it live again so we can add the boat's keel. Select the Navigate tool and click-drag on the lower edge of the bounding box near the stern to rotate about 180 degrees. If you don't get it right the first time, either choose View Last or Undo from the Edit menu and try again. Just like with the mast, we'll begin with a circle. Choose the Circle tool and click-drag on the central spine of the hull. Make sure you start at the center of the hull. Press the Option key to create the circle from its center and form a circle with a diameter of about 1 unit. There will be a slight pause while Sketch calculates how to fit the circle precisely to the curve of the hull. Get the Extrude-O-Matic tool. Press the Command and Option keys and click on the central sketching plane to make it live again. Click on the circle, then click on the plane above the hull and at a slight angle. Then double-click to complete the extrusion. Most keels are not simply extruded cylinders, so we'll use our Handle tool to reshape this form. Let's move in on the keel. Choose Fit to View from the View menu. Select the Handle tool. Press the Command key and click-drag to pull the front face of the bounding box forward. With the Command key still pressed, push in the side face to further shape the keel. Press the Option key and click on the top rib of the keel. Press Command and Shift and then click-drag on the front face of the bounding box, scaling it to about 82%. Now press the Option key and click on the lowest rib of the keel. Press on the Command key and drag out to scale the base of the keel about 160%. Let's go back to View 1 on the Edit menu and apply some materials to the boat. Choose Materials from the Appearance menu. In the Materials dialog box, we can create new materials by specifying color, transparency, and finish. Press on the New button and type white to name our material. Press Select Color and choose white from the color wheel, moving the elevator bar up to increase the brightness. Hit OK, then hit Update to preview the material. Next, hit Done. Now, choose Select All from the Edit menu. Go to the Appearance menu and choose White from Assign Material. Choose the Show Assembly command from the Arrange menu. Again, we'll move ours out of the way. Click on the world to deselect everything and scroll down to the last extruded object in this view. This is the keel. Select this assembly and choose Get Info from the Edit menu. Name this assembly Keel. Materials can also be changed in the Get Info box of any object. Change the keel's color to scarlet, hit Update to preview the new material, and then press OK. Scroll through the assembly view to see the results of our last few actions. Now choose Select All from the Edit menu. Select Group from the Arrange menu. This groups all of the objects into one assembly. Choose Get Info from the Edit menu and call the assembly Sailboat. Press OK. Collapse the assembly into one object by double-clicking on the assembly named Sailboat. Of course, all the pieces of this group can be easily expanded and then modified at a later date. Now close the assembly view. Press Command and Option and click on the central plane to make it live. Now select Head On from the View menu. Choose the Zipper tool and press the Shift key to zoom out. Watch the status bar until we are at about 50%. Create the bottle's profile around the sailboat with the Curvomatic tool. We will create the profile of the bottle and then revolve it into a 3D shape. Use the Curvomatic tool to create a profile, dragging the curves into shape as you go. Notice that when we draw out into space, we're actually drawing on the extension of our green sketching plane. Continue creating the outline of the bottle with click-drag actions, shaping it to your liking. On the final curve, hold down the Option key to create the lip at the top of the neck. Now choose the Revolve tool. Select any curved line and click-drag to specify the diameter of the revolution. By pressing the Command key, you can also specify the orientation of the axis of revolution. Release the Command key when the axis is horizontal. Now move the opposite profile correctly into place. Finish the revolve by letting go of the mouse button. Let's choose the bottle and give it a proper name. Select Get Info from the Edit menu and call it Bottle. Then click OK. To make the bottle glass, we'll choose Materials from the Appearance menu. Click on Get From in the lower right of the dialog box. The Materials catalog gives you preset materials that can be brought into any sketch drawing. By selecting Pictures, we can see a preview of each of our materials. Each of these materials was created in Sketch. Some of them were originally Adobe Photoshop images that were applied as texture maps before being saved in the Materials catalog. Scroll down to the transparent materials and select Refractive Glass. Press Place to load it into the Materials menu, and then press Done. Now select Refractive Glass in the list of materials in the top left of your Materials dialog box. Since our bottle is to be made out of glass, we'll now press Apply. Finally, click Done to close the Materials dialog box. Now let's compose our bottle with the Navigate tool. Select the top left corner of the bounding box and click Drag to rotate it into place. There. That's about right. Now, let's do a quick rendering to test out the form of our objects. Before we render though, select backdrops from the Appearance menu to give our rendering an attractive background. Let's choose a ramp by clicking on Ramp. Click in the top color box and choose a bright blue from the color picker. Click OK. Then, click OK in the ramp editor. To load this backdrop behind our sailboat, click Apply and then Done. Now, click on the ground plane to deselect the bottle. Let's go to Render Settings from the File menu and take a look at the various preset render qualities. Sketch is capable of basic renderings or photorealistic renderings using shadows and ray tracing. For this image, let's use a basic highlighted render setting that will allow us to see the effects of materials and lighting on our design. Our present lighting is the sun, which is the default setting and is positioned over our left shoulder, much like a flash gun. Now click OK. We'll add our own lighting later as our image becomes more refined. Now let's render by selecting Render from the File menu. This sort of quick rendering is perfect for testing out the basic form of your ideas. When the final composition is ready, you can move on to higher quality renderings. Of course, the faster your machine, the faster the rendering time. It's a good idea to do small preview renderings while you're experimenting. Then, when you're happy with the results, you can specify a larger, more photorealistic rendering. Hello? Hi. Really? No way. Okay, you know what? I gotta go. Yeah, I'll be home early. Okay? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Bye. Now choose Save As from the File menu. And save our rendering as Boat Render 1. You notice that we have various file formats to choose from, with Pict being the default choice. We'll use TIFF since it's the most compact file format for images. Not all applications can read TIFF, so you'll sometimes save images in the Macintosh Pict format. Select TIFF to save disk space and click on Save. Sketch now saves this rendered image to disk. Now close the rendering. Choose Save As from the File menu. Now save our Sketch Style Guide file as Alias Cup 2 to reflect this more advanced stage in our design process. Now click on Save. Before you continue the tutorial and move on to 3D text, make sure you have closed this document and opened a new one by selecting New from the File menu. Now let's review the tools and commands we've used to build our sailboat. The Handle tool moves, scales, stretches, and squashes objects and profiles. The Extrude-O-Matic tool is used to describe precise extrusions of 2D curves, lines, and shapes. The Materials Editor creates realistic surface effects. The Revolve tool creates 3D objects from a 2D profile. The Backdrops command is used to add a ramp behind the 3D model, and the Render command is used to produce a test rendering. The next part of our Alias Cup illustration is the 3D text in the upper left. We'll be using a text outline created in Adobe Illustrator. Before you begin, Make sure you have a new, untitled document open in Sketch, as shown here. Choose Import from the File menu. This command is used to directly import Adobe Illustrator files into Sketch. We've included some files for you to use in this exercise. If you've installed them per the instructions on the disk, then this will now be in your Sketch folder, as you can see here. Open the Tutorial folder. Open the Illustrator file. The 2D Illustrator line work is imported into Sketch and dropped onto the ground plane. Using the Move tool, click-drag on the text to move it into the foreground. 2D line work takes on a whole new meaning when brought into a 3D environment. Now we'll use Sketch to turn the Alias Cup text into 3D text that we can light and render. Choose Fit to View from the View menu to focus on the text. Choose the Extrude tool and click-hold on the text. Press the Shift key and drag up perpendicular to the ground surface about 0.25 units and release the mouse. There will be a slight delay while Sketch extrudes the 2D outlines into Sketch 3D objects. Next, choose Show Assembly from the Arrange menu to see the results of our actions. The letters are displayed as assemblies, each with their own end caps and start caps. This is useful if later you want to apply a different material to each of the various parts of your 3D letter. Choose Select All from the Edit menu. Go to the Arrange menu and select Group. A new assembly is created. Select Get Info from the Edit menu. Name the assembly Text. Click OK. And collapse the group with a double click in the assembly view. Now choose Smoothness from the Appearance menu and select Rougher. This will make the shapes easier to manipulate as we work and will save us redraw time. We're now going to catalog our 3D text so it can be used in future drawings as clip art. Choose Catalog Ideas from the Studio menu. This may take slightly longer on your Mac depending on the model you have. The text is now stored in our Assemblies catalog and will be used again in the final Alias Cup illustration. Now we'll close this file without saving it, since we have our 3D text archived in the Assembly catalog. Now you know how to use Sketch with Adobe Illustrator files. The Import command imports Adobe Illustrator files directly into Sketch. The Extrude tool extrudes Adobe Illustrator 2D outlines into 3D shapes. And the Catalog Ideas command, used to store assemblies, materials, and backdrops into the idea catalogs. Now let's pull it all together and create a realistic 3D illustration. This is where we will situate our ship, bottle, and text into a scanned photo and see Sketch truly working in the real world. You should start this section with the Alias Cup 2 document that we saved earlier. To make our life easier, let's open up the Assembly view from the Arrange menu and hide the sailboat. Select the sailboat in the Assembly view, and now choose Hide from the Appearance menu. This action is only temporary to quicken our redraws while we work. Let's leave the bottle displayed to help us orient ourselves. Now close the Assembly view. Choose Backdrops from the Appearance menu. Press Image and reopen the Tutorial folder. Choose the file called TV Backdrop and press Open. Sketch will now show you a preview of your backdrop. Name the image TV, then press Apply. As you can see in the backdrop preview, our model's perspective does not match that of the photo. So we are going to build a simple stand-in of the same proportions as the TV and use the stand-in to align our view. Choose the zipper tool, press Shift, and zoom out to about 40%. Select the Cube tool and click-drag in front of the bottle along the edge of the grid. Make the cube's dimensions about 30 units. Now choose the Handle tool. Press down on the Command and Shift keys and click-drag the front of the box in to about 12 units. Now hold down the Command key and click-drag to scale the side face out to 35 units. To situate the bottle properly in the scanned-in image, we'll make use of Sketch's Breakthrough Perspective Matching tool. First, we must make the front of our TV model live to assist us in matching. Press the Command and Option keys and click on the leftmost line of the box near the front face. This face now has a green grid on it and is live. If one of the other faces of the box becomes live, then make the ground plane live again and repeat. Now choose the Match Backdrop tool. The Match Backdrop tool appears, and you now see the whole scene disappear except for the live TV cube. To match, click and drag on one of the corners of the white perspective frame until it lies on the appropriate corner of the TV in the backdrop. Drag the other points until they are also matched. Make sure that the sidelines are vertical using the edge extensions to assist you. Now press Match, and we automatically get a closely matched view of our TV over the photograph. If the view is not perfect, then adjust the corners that seem out of sync, and press Match again. Repeat until a close match is made. There, that's about right. Press on the Move tool to switch off the Match Backdrop tool. Now you'll see the bottle in front of the TV on the table. Sketch has perfectly matched the perspective of the 2D photo. Let's now save this drawing. Select Save As from the File menu and save it as Alias Cut 3. Choose Duplicate from the View menu to save this view for future reference. Next, press the Command and Option keys and click on the original grid to make it live. Choose Show Assembly from the Arrange menu, and select the sailboat. The boat will now reappear in your scene. Press the Shift key and select the bottle in the assembly view. Close the assembly view. Using the Move tool, carefully click on the lowest point of the bottle and then press the Shift key. As you start to move the bottle, notice that the height is negative, meaning that the bottle is below the current context. Lift the ship and the bottle to a height of 0 and release the Shift key. Now move them both to the lower left of the scene. choose the Handle tool. Press the Command and Shift keys and scale down from the top corner of the bounding box. Now rotate the bottle a little to the right. Now let's retrieve the Alias Cup text that we created earlier. Go to the Catalogs command under the Studio menu and select Assemblies from the submenu. Scroll down to Text and use the Shift key to select 6 assemblies, including text. Use the Selected Pictures option and wait briefly for the assemblies to show as pictures. This way your clip art can be selected visually rather than by name. Now press on the empty space beneath the pictures to deselect them, and then select the text. Press Place, and Sketch transfers a copy of the assembly into our work area. Next, press Done. Press the Command and Option keys and click on the front face of the TV stand-in to make it live. Since the Handle tool is already selected, we can use this to move the text into place. Rotate the text about 80 degrees by click-dragging one of the top edges of the bounding box. Now select the Move tool and click and drag on the text. Remember, we're moving it in relation to the live TV outline. The blue line and dot indicate the position of the text in space. Move it so that the blue dot indicates the text is perpendicular to the top left corner of the TV stand-in. Choose the Handle tool. Press the Command key and click-drag to scale the text up by about 550%. Use the Handle tool to fine-tune the text positioning. There, that's about right. Now choose Materials from the Appearance menu. Click on the Get From button to load a material from the Materials catalog. Now choose Metal Brass. Press Place, then Done. Now choose Metal Brass in the Appearance menu and apply it to the text. Press Done to close the Materials dialog box. We now need to position a spotlight to illuminate our scene. First, make the ground plane live by holding down the Command and Option keys and clicking on its edge. Next, click anywhere beneath the ground plane to deselect the text. Choose the Zipper tool, hold down the Shift key, and zoom out about 30%. Choose the Plane tool and click-drag a sketching plane from the bottle out, holding down the Shift key to make it perpendicular to the live plane. Now, make this plane live by holding down the Command and Option keys and clicking on its edge. We can add both spotlights and point lights to add realism to the scene. Let's add a spotlight up here and extend its beam down to our scene. Let's now adjust the light setting by selecting Get Info from the Edit menu. Increase the intensity slightly and also make the beam angle wider to ensure that it catches both the text and the bottle. Press Apply and then OK. Now select Last from the View menu. Press the Command and Option keys and click on the ground plane to make it live again. Before we render, we need to hide our stand-in TV since we don't want it obscuring the real TV in the rendering. Select the Move tool. Click on the stand-in and then select Hide from the Appearance menu. Now choose Render from the File menu. We'll be using the same rendering settings that we used earlier to preview our illustration. Before you dive into a more advanced rendering, this test should always be made. After all, you don't want to wait for a rendering and then find out you forgot to switch on a light. It's better. Well, if your rendering looks anything like this, you should give yourself a pat on the back. Let's review the final stages and the tools we used. The Backdrops command to import a scanned photo into your illustration. The Match Backdrop tool to match your 3D perspective to that of a 2D photo. And the Spotlight tool to position and direct the light source and to control its intensity and spread. And finally, the Render command to create a rough proof of our illustration. That wraps up our design exercise. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to render the illustration at a larger size or at a higher quality, here's an example of what it might look like. First though, make sure that you've allocated 8 meg or more of RAM to Sketch. You may wish to experiment with the various rendering qualities or switch on shadows. Perhaps even position a shadow catcher under the bottle so that the shadows are cast onto the tabletop, as we did here. Once the final illustration is complete, there are many uses for it. For example, the Alias Cup rendering could be imported into Quark Express and combined with other imagery and text to form the Alias Cup advertisement you see here. Sketch models can be saved as 3D DXF files and then imported into popular animation and CAD packages such as these. I've had a lot of fun working with you, and I'm sure you'll have a great time working in Sketch. Oh, one final thing before I go. Hold down one of the modifier keys, I can't tell you which one, and select About Sketch from the Apple menu. In closing, we'd like to share a sample of sketch art created by the people around the office here at Alias. Sketch is created by Alias, the world leader in computer graphics.